Hi, this is David from Rogers Gardens. I'm going to go over January's gardening checklist, and I'll go over some of the flowers and some of the maintenance you'll be doing in January. The first thing is going to be vegetables, but going more into this month, it's more of a maintenance month too, like you're getting your roses ready for spring and you're feeding your citrus, and I don't really feed a lot of the other fruit trees until next month, but right now I'm going to go over what vegetables I'm planting. So really, you're going to keep on going with your winter vegetables, and so the big thing right now, and this is important for January, you're always going to do a second crop. So by now, some of the cauliflower has finished and the lettuce has finished. So do another crop. A lot of people start waiting for more of the spring stuff where we're still going to be cold in January, February, and then part of March. So that's why I'll do another crop of cauliflower. I'll do more lettuce. And so let's get into what I'm doing right now, or what I'm still planting. So it's a second crop. Remember that, guys. So right now I'm still doing the emerald crown broccoli. So I'm going to put that in. Broccoli, put it into the back of your garden. If it's a raised bed, broccoli will get 1.5 to 2 feet wide. So put it in the back of the garden. All your kales. So I love this is the lacinato or the dinosaur kale. I love using this. And again, put it in the back of the garden. You don't need a lot of kale because kale produces so much. So I usually put 1 or 2 plants in the corners, and as they grow, I really keep trimming them. And you want to trim them above. You can see like that little crown right there. You always want to cut above that crown so it keeps producing new growth. If you cut below that crown, it doesn't have anything to produce from. So that's important with kale. So like I'm doing the broccoli, and then here's the cauliflower right here. This is snowball. So snowball is really good. Again, space them out. I do differently a little bit with cauliflower and broccoli. I'll fertilize it more. So that'd be the other, because the other winter vegetables, I might feed that much. I might just give them compost tea and light, but broccoli, cauliflower, even kale, even Brussels sprouts, I will fertilize them with just a down-to-earth, all-purpose fertilizer. That's a good one. It's like similar to what I use on the tomatoes. And so moving forward, you got more. This is called Flame Star. This is like more of a cheddar cheese type of cauliflower, and these are really good. I usually opt for, and it depends on what you want in your garden, but I do like little starts because these little starts are ready to go. So I do sometimes favor color packs because plants are little and plants are less likely to bolt. So little young plants, they haven't been in the container too long, they're not root bound. So sometimes I do favor the color packs. Moving on, I do the cabbage. This is a variety called Red Acres. Really important with cabbage is you get full sun. So cabbage and some of these winter vegetables need really full sun. So that's an important thing to remember when you're planting. So, and then you could do red cabbage and Napa cabbage and all that. If you do some of the Napa cabbage, really watch for the pill bugs. Sometimes I use Sluggo Plus. That's another one I'll be talking about more at the end when I go more into the organic insecticides. Going into wintertime, you're still gonna have like the cabbage loopers and the cabbage worms. I'll take like an organic spray like BT, or I'll take spinosad, and I'll talk more about that, but just a precursor. And then moving on, so you can do all your brassicas, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, cabbage, kohlrabi, all that stuff. Do it now. You're going to get a second crop before March. I do the onions too. A lot of people think it's too late, but some of the best time is now to do the onions. Onions will take a long time. These are leeks right here. So I'll do the short day onions like the Granules and the Texas Grand Necks. We don't get as long of day length as we go into spring. Some of those onions need the long day, but do short day. SD types. Always watch for SDs. So don't do like Maui and all the other ones. Just do the ones that they grow a lot in Texas. Granex, Granule. I think there's a red one called Red Creole. You can do scallions. You can do this is giant muscle burr. And this is a really good leek. Leeks are really good. Again, space them about 6 to 10 inches apart. You can fertilize them a little bit in the beginning. Don't over fertilize them. Full sun. That's one thing with all the onions and the garlics and the leeks. You need that full sun. And because if you don't, they won't bulb up. they'll just be like scallions. So that's important. All the leafy greens, so the lettuces, the spinach, the escaroles, all that stuff. Do another crop now. Watch for the snails and slugs and the pill bugs if they're really chewing on stuff in your garden. So that's important. But I love these sort of like mixture of lettuce, like the gourmet mixes that have the oak leaf, the romaine, all that. And plant them now. It's been really damp at night, so sometimes you don't have to water as frequently. So I turn the water off, and I usually hand water. That's a little bit better, you know. And so that's it for the veggies. But again, do a second crop, don't wait. Now I want to be talking about some of the different herbs that I do right now. So the main thing with January, certain annuals are done for the year and they won't come back in until spring. So right now you're looking at more of your perennial herbs. So the herbs I'm doing right now, I mean, the only annual that I'm really doing that likes the cold weather, surprisingly or not, is cilantro. So I'm doing cilantro right now. Cilantro is good to plant right now because it doesn't like hot weather. Even though it gets pinned more as a summer herb for salsas and different things, it loves the cold. So right now, do the seeds, do the plants, and keep cutting it. You know, that's the one thing with cilantro that people don't realize. The minute it starts growing 3 to 4 inches, 6 inches, cut it, because it's almost like lettuce. It's like a cut and come again. So when you get some of the different varieties, and I'll talk about seeds later on, but just when it starts growing this tall, just cut it, cut it, cut it. And again, like I always stress, don't cut it to the ground. Leave about 2 inches so that new growth has a chance to come out of the crown, where people go wrong with plants that have a crown because they cut back too hard. So like cilantro and parsley and even some of the other vegetables and some of that, don't cut them hard, just light cut them down, and that way they'll keep coming back. This is the only basil I do this time of year, called African Blue. I really plant it for more of the bees and for the pollinators. It's not a culinary basil. A lot of the basils I'm already taking out of my garden because as we get damper and it's colder, they don't like the moisture. So African Blue, the only basil I put in the garden, perennial basil. Lemon balm. Lemon balm is a good one right now. Lemon balm can spread, so sometimes if you don't want it to really be too aggressive in your garden, put it in a pot, but lemon balm is good. Chamomile is good right now. It's going to be a little slower with the colder nights, but the minute it hits spring, it's going to take off. So chamomile, all the oreganos. So Greek oregano, Italian oregano, but I love the Mexican oreganos. I love this. I put this on pizzas a lot. And what I always do when I harvest, this is a little trick. I just clip off a piece of it. I hold the growth like that, and then let's see if I can do it. And then you lightly strip it. And then this is what I use for pasta and for my my pizzas. So I love fresh oregano. So that's the Mexican oregano. It's a good one. The Italian parsley is good. I love the Italian parsley. Sometimes parsley likes a little bit of shade. So if you're warm where you're at, sometimes a little bit of the shade. It doesn't like too hot. All your chives you can do, like garlic chives and onion chives and fine leaf chives. I like to sort of harvest the outer leaves because if you give them too much of a haircut, it takes them too long to come back. So I do like all the chives. The dill is still coming in, so the dill looks really good. The dill likes cooler weather, so fern leaf dill is a good one, and it's actually a good pollinator. Some of the mints are still coming in. This is one of my favorite, called Mint the Best. Mint is such an aggressive spreader, and it can be somewhat evasive, so don't put it in your garden or your raised bed. Put it in like a little terracotta pot and grow it in there, and always full sun with the mint because you don't want the caterpillars to chew on it. This is one of my other favorites. So if I had 2 favorite mints to choose, Mint the Best and Berries and Cream. I love these 2 varieties. Mint the Best is more of a spearmint, and Berries and Cream is closer to probably like a peppermint. But I love these 2 varieties. Love to put them in tea. I love the purple sage. There's one girl that sells sauce at the farmer's market in San Diego, and she uses the purple sage in pesto. So I love the purple sage. Is really good because you get some good flavor off it. And then if you're doing brown butter and some other stuff, lemongrass. Lemongrass is good to plant right now. It's going to be a little slow with the colder weather, but the minute we warm up in spring, it will take off. But love the lemongrass. I do like this this other sage right here. That this is Chef's Choice. The narrow leaf sages are always good. This is a good one for brown butter. So like that. Like I said, just plant more of the perennial herbs, like the parsley, like the thyme. English thyme is good. French thyme is good. all those perennials. So I do those herbs right now with more of the perennial herbs. So talking a little bit about the flowers this time of year. So when we really go into January, January is sort of a slower month with most plants, just because it's colder, they're not going to be blooming. So I'll keep doing all the annuals, and it's a big time of month to do the biennials too. So that's really important. So I'm going to go into the biennials first. So the delphiniums, there's a couple different varieties of delphiniums. I only brought up Magic Fountains, but there's another one called Pacific Giant. So if you want really tall delphiniums, do the Pacific Giants, because they can get 4 to 6 feet tall, where the Magic Fountains might only get like a foot or two. And so definitely your delphiniums right now. Even foxgloves are good right now, like Foxy and all of those. I didn't see any larkspur, but larkspur is a good one right now. And so remember with your biennials, they're between an annual and a perennial. They're right in the middle. So usually biennials can take about 1 year to 2 years to actually grow. And then at the end of their stage, when they're done blooming, they'll usually die off. Sometimes they'll shoot little side plants. So if you ever see like foxgloves and delphiniums shooting little like suckers or little side shoots, you cut them all the way to the ground, because that will push that energy to those babies or those side shoot plants. Or they really call them more divisions. But that's important, because if you let the whole plant grow, the energy and the nutrients is going to go all the way up to those stalks. And so when the flowers are really done, cut them all the way to the ground and see if those divisions take off and come up more through the year. But definitely the biennials right now. So the foxgloves, the delphiniums, the larkspur, all that stuff. So big season because you want to get them in before you really go into February. So December, January, but this is the month for your biennials if you want them to bloom good through late spring and summer. Another thing that I really stress right now, because you got to get them in before we go into spring, are the sweet peas. So we still have a lot of Steve Hampson sweet peas, and so a lot of the Spencer types and the grandifloras. And I just brought up a couple of my favorites. I love Francis Kate. Francis Kate is a good one. You always want with these are the flowering sweet peas. You want a trellis. It's about 4 to 6 feet tall. You can put them in a pot. You can put them in the ground, but they need full sun, because as the day length gets longer, it triggers them to bloom. So they really need full sun or they won't grow. So I use my old tomato containers with about a 5-foot cage. And watering consistently, but don't keep them too wet, because that's one thing. And a lot of times, even with the tomato cages, I'll take some like raffia and I'll wire up the cage even more so it has a tendency to climb, because these tendrils need something to wrap along, but they need something really narrow. So they can't really wrap around anything larger than a pencil. So it has to be smaller than a pencil. That's why the old tomato cages work fine. So Francis Kate's a good one. I usually fertilize when I plant. I don't keep on feeding because I don't want a lot of vegetated growth. So I really take like an all-purpose down to earth or a rose food down to earth, and I'll feed when I do the soil. So a lot of the time with the soil, I'm doing the Malibu potting soil. That's one of the best potting soils I found with these, because they sometimes are touchy to being overly wet. So remember, full sun, good deep container, a cage, and not over fertilizing, not over watering. Ethel Grace. So Ethel Grace is one of my other favorites. Like that one. Ethel Grace is a good one. Charlie's Angel. So this is one of my favorite sort of light blue varieties of like the Spencer sweet peas. Love the Charlie's Angels is a really good one. Jacqueline Ann. Jacqueline Ann is a really good one. I think this is more of like a lavender, like a deeper lavender. So there's some good deep lavenders, like New Zealand Gardener, and then the Jacqueline Ann, and there's Just Julia, and a whole bunch of them. And always contact to see what varieties we have available, because there's some good ones. There's a lot of good white varieties like White Frills and Mary Priestley, and there's some good pinks like Sunshine Opal, and you have I like John Gray, and so there's some good ones. I always mix them up. Like I like to take like a white and then a purple and then a pink and then a darker pink, and then I get them and they'll mix together as they climb. So longer stem sweet peas, good for cut flowers. Some of the other plants that I'm doing right now, I like the little bellis. I like the bellis. Daisies are good, or the English daisies are good. They love it when it's cooler. They love it when it's damp. and they come in whites and reds. So I love the little Bellis daisies, or English daisies. I like the stalk, the 7-week stalk, the midget stalk. Stalk is one of the more fragrant flowers for the winter, and they'll go into spring. And so yeah, I love the stalk. I'm still doing like all the pansies and the violas, and so this is a good little viola right here that's like a penny or a mixed color, but the violas are great because the violas will bloom so long. You know, they can go now all the way into like spring or summer, you know, as long as, again, don't plant them really deep and try not to keep them overly wet. So important for them. I'll still do like paludosum daisies. The little paludosum daisies are great bloomers. Usually we plant them more in spring, but I can still do them right now. I like the Icelandic poppies. Icelandic poppies, this one is called Champagne Bubbles, and it's a mixture of pinks, and this is my favorite, and great blooming, but they'll go all the way into spring. If you plant them right now, they'll go into March and April, no problem, and they just keep reblooming. But again, with these, try not to keep them overly wet. I like to turn off my sprinklers this time of year, and I'll water a little bit, but we've been so damp at night that I really don't like to keep stuff overly wet. I still do a lot of the perennials too, like I like the scaviolas. These scaviolas are great. Great to plant right now because they like a lot of water, so they like the coolness, and they bloom really good. There's white varieties and purple varieties, and there's dwarfs, but I like the scaviolas. The scaviolas are really good. And then the other plant are the scabioses, and scabioses are good right now. And so right now, just keep on doing some of the annuals. Then as we get into more of the perennial stuff, I wait till spring for more of that stuff. Now, this is some of the seeds I'll be talking about for January. I do a lot of the vegetables and then the flowers, but the main thing is I key in on some of the vegetables right now because you still have time to do a lot of the winter vegetables. So right now I'm doing all my peas. So these are my edible peas. I love the sugar snap peas, and then I love the Oregon too. So the biggest difference is these, you can eat the whole pod and they will produce seeds, and that's your sugar snaps. And they don't have any strings in them. Like the English peas that produce peas, you have to take and literally open them up and take the seeds out. But I like these because I can stir fry them, I can steam them, I can eat the whole pod. So I love, there's Sugar Daddy, these are sugar snaps, and so I like these. I do like the Oregon snow peas. I think the Oregon snow peas and the sugar snaps too are very sweet and high in sugars. I find that some of the bigger snow peas, like the giant ones, they're not as sweet. So I like the Oregon too. And when you are planting them, put them in the ground or put them in a container, but you do want a 4 to 6 foot trellis or a tomato cage or something they can climb up, and they won't bloom until it starts to go a little warmer. But now is a great time to plant them because sometimes coming out of winter, I've always done the best with edible peas because they'll climb up about 4 to 6 feet tall. As we start warming up, even later on, that really triggers them to bloom. And I think the lengthening days of spring gets them to bloom. But always do a cage, full sun, and not overwater. And don't plant the seeds that deep, only maybe about 1/2 inch. I know a lot of people go 2-3 inches and they'll rot the seed out. So, and I don't soak them in water. I just directly plant them, direct sow them in the ground or in a pot and put them about 1/2 inch down. So that's with the edible peas. Still doing all the lettuces again. You know, I can do the gourmet mix. This is Chef's Choice. Has a mixture of romaines and leaf lettuces like red sales, and it might have different types of heirloom romaine or romaine. So I do the leaf lettuces, and I love the gourmet mix because I can get such a variety of lettuces in one seed, and I just do a little, sometimes I do a little amount of seeds every 3 to 4 weeks, so I have lettuce all the way into spring. So lettuce, I do arugula. I like the rocket because it doesn't bolt as quick, so the arugula is really good, and arugula loves it this time of year, and a lot of people always come looking for it in summer, and it's too hot and it bolts. But oh, it loves like January, February, into spring. Doesn't like it when we go into April and May, but now's the time to do it, and you don't have to do that much of it. You can mix it in with your lettuce, or you can plant it near your lettuce, but fresh arugula is really good. The spinaches, I'll do all the spinaches like Oceanside and Matador and all of them. I don't like more of the Savoy or more of the crunchy spinaches. I like more of the flat leaf baby spinaches. So that's why plant them right now. They'll germinate pretty quick, but they're slow a little bit. Don't overwater them. And the minute they start coming up, again, you start cutting them, and always cut about 2 inches above the crown. So that way you can cut them, and it's just like a cut and come again lettuce. So I love fresh spinach. Really, really good. Again, I keep doing cilantro from seeds. This is called Santo. Santo is a really good variety. There's a whole bunch of them, but I like Santo. I'll just plant them right now. 3 weeks, plant a little bit more, a little bit more. So the one thing I always stress with people when I'm doing seeds, I don't like to do a whole bunch at once. I do a little bit here and there. A lot of times what I do is I'll put my broccoli, my cauliflower, and my kale in. I'll leave little rows between, and I'll put just a little row of seed, maybe a foot, foot and a half long. That way I can have more of a staggered effect, because I see some people just do their whole garden one thing. Mix it up more on what you like using and what you use the most when you cook and when you're eating. So definitely, I love cilantro. Do another set of root crops. So these are the little cherry bell radishes. These are good, and these are very fast. These can be like 35 to 43 days, so they come up very quick. They can be a little spicy, but fresh radishes are good. I love the rutabagas. The rutabagas take a long time though. They can take 80 to 90 days. So plant them right now. Rutabagas are so good. This is called American Purple Top, good variety. I like the little carrots. I don't do as many really long carrots because our soil tends to be a little heavier. You could do them in raised beds. So sometimes with the royal chantenays and sometimes that. I like the little French fingers and the little 8-ball carrots, and these come up and they're a little quicker. So I do like these for fresh carrots. I can roast them, I can steam them, but I love fresh carrots. And with carrots, don't over fertilize them and don't put too much manure down, because sometimes they'll produce a lot of roots and the carrots will almost come out like sort of hairy. So moderate with the fertilizing with carrots. Beets, I love beets. Like, look, what kind of beets you like that's your favorite? I like the gold beets, but I do use the tops a lot too. This one is Golden Boy. There's a couple different varieties, but I love the golden beets. And then if you're juicing, Early Wonder is a good juicing variety because it is more juicier. If you're roasting, the Detroit Dark Red. So 2 different types on depending on how you're going to use them. Juicing, roasting, but both of them are really good. Now's the time to do your wildflowers. So I brought up a California mix, and this is by Botanical Interest. And so if I read off some of the California native wildflower in here, I got Arajo, Lupin, I got 5-spot, Baby Blue Eyes, Chinese Houses, there's California poppies in here, there's Tidy Tips, Clarkia, there's a bunch of them, but I like them because I don't have to buy, I like these mixed packs because I don't have to buy individual colors. You can if you want, but I like a mix, so I'll loosen out the soil about 2 to 3 inches and sort of scarify it, and then I'll add a little bit of organic matter, and then I will sprinkle the seeds down. I love to work them in with the back of a rake, and then water good. Like if we don't get any rain, every like 2-3 weeks, just water them really heavy. Watch them for the birds a little bit to make sure the birds aren't picking the seeds. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of soil back over them. That's why I like to sort of rake them into that top couple inches with the back of a rake. And so, yeah, and so definitely with your wildflowers right now. Yeah, and so that's it with the flowers and some of the vegetables from seeds. This is like, January is a good month for maintenance. So this is, if I didn't prune anything back, I'm going to talk about roses and pruning that, but if I didn't prune back any of my perennials, like my salvias and my penstemons and all that stuff, I'm going to prune them back right now. I don't prune really heavy. A lot of people want to prune stuff to the ground, and you run the risk of it not coming back as strong. So it's really important when you're pruning stuff, you're really cleaning it up and getting it to rest or hibernate right now, so then they'll come back in spring with new growth and new flowers. And so this is a time of year when plants need to rest and take a break. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about pruning roses. Which variety is this? This is, I think, Iceberg. Yeah, this is just Iceberg Rose. I will light trim them down. I don't really prune them. I mean, you prune hybrid teas differently. And so even though I don't have any hybrid teas left right now, I'm going to prune this like a hybrid tea, even though I can just prune it any old way. But the one thing with roses when you're pruning them, don't prune them back really hard. So if the plant's 4 or 5 feet tall, take them to like 3 feet. Take about a quarter of them off. Don't take it. A lot of people, I've seen gardeners go all the way to the ground, and as the rose gets older, and it's like 3 to 4 years older, it doesn't have as much active growth lower in the crown to come back from. So it's important, like even this little rose is probably 2 feet tall. I'll maybe take 8 or 10 inches off it. But again, and I will strip the leaves. I do spray afterward, and I usually fertilize at the end of the month. But I start pruning my roses in the second week of January. Now's the time. So I got my pruners. I like Felco pruners a lot because I can replace the blades. But I'm just using Coronas right now. But I'll always just go through and I'll cut them back. And I don't want to make too much of a mess. But I'll cut them back. And so, and I keep going. A lot of times if I have a lot of branching, I do like to go below that branching. If I have too many branches coming out at a cross section, I will go back to an outward facing bud. And you always want, that's very important. See how you have this leaf in this branch? I always want to cut it towards me because I want the branches growing up and out. So you're always cutting on an angle, like a 45-degree angle above that bud, and I don't go right near the bud. Sometimes I'll go a ½ an inch to an inch up. So I cut that, and then I will pull the leaf down and strip the leaf. And the reason why I always strip all the leaves on these, even though it takes time, wear gloves doing it, you want to get rid of any of the leaves that might be harboring any fungus. So black spot and rust and even sometimes downy mildew and powdery mildew. So always strip all the leaves off. These canes look really good. Bud is swelling for next year when they come out more in spring. So it's really good right now to trim them back. But again, I'm not pruning heavy. I'm just light. With these, I'm going through and I'm going to light prune. And again, light prune, all the way around the plant. And so like even like this one, I'll keep going and I'll just keep cutting and cutting. So I'm gonna go on this side more and keep trimming. And so I'm sort of holding as I trim. I like a tendency with me, so I know a lot of people sometimes can almost cut their fingers with pruning. See how I keep my hands above and I keep my pruners low. So that's important. A lot of people want to keep their hands and they cut above. I cut below. So like even if I lift this up, see I cut here, so I don't worry about cutting my finger because I used to cut above my hand and hold it. No, I don't, because I've cut my finger pretty good sometimes. So again, then I'll go through and I'll just hold. I have a tendency to hold the branch and pull down. And that's just a funny thing with me. It's sort of I've done this so long that it's just like a habit. And then I just take, and I always hold stuff, you know. I always take my 2 fingers and I hold and I pull down. Hold and pull down. And I just don't want to get so gored up by the thorns. And so again, trimming. Now you can start to see that I'm taking it down. And so, but you keep going with that, and that's important. And then, so I keep trimming, and then I'll go through and I'll strip it down. I got it pretty good right now, so I can even take off some of these and take off the ones that look bad, you know, and just, again, just light trimming. I'm not really gonna go any farther than that. And, but I'm gonna strip all these leaves. All these leaves are gonna come off, and then I'm gonna spray. And that's important with roses. With climbers, you can always come in and talk to us about climbers. Climbers are a little tricky. I'd have to show some of you guys, but with pruning climbing roses, you don't really cut the canes back. You're training canes that are already established, and you'll light trim some of the flower shoots down to about 4 inches, 5 inches, so they keep blooming off that. But the main mistake that people do with climbers is they take those nice long canes and they prune them hard, and then they side shoot and they go out too far. So it's important you always keep the climbing branches of the roses going, keep the flower shoots going. You can light trim the ends, but don't prune them. And some of those new shoots that are coming from the bottom, you watch for the suckers, but branches that are coming off the bottom, the lower branches, I'll lightly tie them up sometimes, so then those would be the replacement cane for the climbers one day. And climbers, you'll always, or not climbers, suckers are below the graft. Suckers will grow really straight. So if you see any canes that are coming below the graft, and the graft looks like a little knuckle, you'll get these canes that will come off, and you'll always see the suckers differently than a regular branch. Suckers will come out and go really straight, and they'll go taller than the rest of the plant. And usually the foliage will be like red. So always pop those suckers off. Don't let those suckers grow. So that's important. So talking a little bit about what I'm using to spray them. So I'm always using the copper sprays, like copper soap, copper sulfate, any of them. When you're using the copper sprays are really a good fungicide to smother any spores that are on the leaves, and sometimes I'll even spray the ground. But the one thing to remember with the copper sprays, don't spray anything white, like a picket fence or a white wall, because they could dye that white or almost soak into it and almost dye it like a light color blue. So, but some of the ones I use copper soap a lot. This is by Captain Jack's, and so this is a good one. This is the concentrate. I do sort of like the concentrates, and I use a pump sprayer. I usually, when I spray a lot, I'm less likely to use hose end sprayers because I find the pressure is too high. I like to sort of slow down when I spray. I could take a Zep bottle. I could get like a 2-gallon Chaplin or a Solo sprayer, but I like to use the pump sprayers because I can get all along the canes, I can get the crown, I can even spray the ground. If you've had major problems with rust and with black spot, always clean the leaves off really good, be a good cleaner, and then spray the ground too, because that will harbor any fungus spores that are going to be on the ground. And if you really are near the coast and you've had a lot of problems with fungal, spray now mid-January. Don't be afraid to spray again in February before the buds come out, leaves come out. So concentrate's good. If you have less than 7 roses though, I just grab the ready to use, you know. And so same thing. Captain Jack's doesn't water down their product, so the product is really good. But again, don't spray. I sprayed a picket fence once and I had to repaint it for a customer. So that's why don't spray around white stuff, and so that's important. But yeah, the copper soaps work really good because they're a good fungicide. And so moving on with more of the maintenance, I sort of tie it together with what I'm spraying, what I'm feeding, and so even as we go into the end of the month, with we can keep tying in with the roses. Like fertilizing them. So end of January, almost February, I'm going to fertilize them. I love the down-to-earth fertilizers. I've used so many different organic fertilizers over the years. I love the down-to-earth fertilizers because they really use good products. So fish meal based, fish bone meal based, and all of it, cottonseed meal, all of it, but really quality product and good for the garden. One box should take care of about 7 to 8 roses. And then the little boxes will take about 1 or 2 roses. And another thing that I do that's important with fertilizing roses is I use Epsom salts because it's a very important component with magnesium. So this is Pennington's. I don't need to use much. I'll use about a half a handful per plant, which would be about a half a cup. And I'll put it down. I'll put the fertilizer down. I'll take the back of my little hand trowel or rake and I'll work it in. Work it around the plant. So, and then water good. But Epsom salts is a very important component with roses because they will create what they call basal breaks. And basal breaks are new growth. And they'll always say, oh, Epsom salts will help the plants bloom more. And then some people say, well, I don't see more blooms. You will eventually, because basal breaks produce more branches, more blooms. So it's really important at least twice a year to 3 times a year. I do, when I fertilize them now, I'll do again summer and I'll do a little bit in fall. But you don't need to overdo it, and it is a salt, so water good afterward, blend it into the soil, and that's it, And I don't like the scented ones, unscented. Just Pennington's. There's a couple other companies, but just regular Epsom salt. Now's the time to fertilize citrus. So the Down to Earth makes a really good citrus fertilizer. So since citrus come out really early and they start blooming as early as January, like more February. But you want to put it down now with the fertilizers because you want it to break down and be ready when they do start blooming. So that's important. So I do use the Down to Earth citrus fertilizer. And then citrus generally, anything under 3 to 5 years old, I feed really heavy. Anything over 5 years old, I might only feed 3 times a year. So bigger citrus, I might go spring, a summer, and maybe a fall. Little citrus under 3 to 5 years, I'll feed in January. I'll go 2 months and I'll feed again in like January, February, in like end of March. I'll go again April, May, maybe June. So I tend to fertilize, about 4 or 5 times a year with younger citrus because heavy feeders. Same thing goes with avocados. When they're really young, I'll feed them a little heavy because I really want to get good development from them. And I do use the down to earth citrus food for avocado. Cottonseed meal for blueberries. Blueberries are going to be really slow right now. They're going to start blooming this month or next month. But I do like cottonseed meal for blueberries because blueberries need really acidic nutrients. So it's not so much, they're not really heavy feeders, but they like a really low pH. And they like a pH around 5.5 to 6.5, so it's important to use cottonseed meal because even our water being a little bit more alkaline will bring the pH up. And the leaves look yellow and they'll look really chlorotic. But it's not so much an iron deficiency, it's more the pH being so high. So that's why do your cottonseed meal with blueberries. Another little section in maintenance that I was talking about is with certain insects, and it's been sort of not a lot of rain, but we've had a lot of dampness with the nights, and so slugs and snails, pill bugs. So I'm still using the Sluggo. Sluggo is one. Sluggo is a good one to use. This is iron phosphate. It's safe to use around cats and dogs because it's a non-methaldehyde base. So your dogs can eat this, lick this, and it doesn't matter because it's just a form of iron. But it's toxic to slug and snails, but it's not toxic to anything else. So this is a good one for slugs and snails. If you have a problem with pill bugs, the Sluggo Plus, this has a little spinosad in it. So good for those. And just watch, because even like right now with my vegetable garden, a lot of my stuff is getting pretty chewed up. And so again, I'll use Sluggo Plus about once a week if they're really bad. Thanks for joining us today, and Happy New Year. And don't forget us to follow us on the social media outlets and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then if you guys have any questions, come in the store and see me.